Ladies and gentlemen, very good evening.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. We have today live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, as always. So if you would be so kind and put in the comments that you can hear us and see us, so we can, start, that would be great. I hope you have a great evening. There was a nice day in Prague. It was like 15 degrees centigrade, and
Oh, take
I was,
every good
I
day
was,
you can
I
still get.
told Lisa, I was teaching kids between 8 to 14 years old, so I'm full of energy. And yeah, we have, it looks like it works. We have Minka here, and others.
Yes. Our,
So
our number one fan, I would say. Thank you always so
absolutely,
much, by the way. A little shout
he is
out.
number one fan. Absolutely. Yeah. I posted last week when Rafael Nadal uh, left. Well, he basically decided to leave the tennis career, basically to finish tennis career in December, I think, or November. Anyway, Davis Cup. So I posted picture with Rafael Nadal, like thank you, legend. And Mika put there, one legend is leaving, the other legend is still staying. So thank you very much. Anyway, so Lisa, why don't you kick it off? We have a great
Yes.
team of relationship and how relationship can transform our, leadership.
Exactly. So here's the thing that everybody forgets. And as I told you, and actually, I just came back today from coaching folks who are in an EMBA program. So lots of these leaders who are really top of the line, really ready to go to that next level, C-suite. And when we talk about what's in their MBA program, right? For most MBA programs, you're learning how do you become a better leader? How do you make decisions? How do you do strategy? And it's about you and your knowledge and how you can apply that to your business. But so much of the actual things that get done are through these interpersonal relationships.
Right.
And there's very little training. Now, of course, anybody who's in like a corporate, you go through a leadership training and they say to you, here's how to have a conversation. Use I words. I feel, I think, don't attack. And Jan and I can spot a mile away someone who's been to one of these trainings, right? But beyond this memorizing a couple of sentences, do we ever really get taught and learn how to be in relationship with each other? And hint, hint, this also works for couples at home and
All
your kids. And the truth is, we just learn by watching how other people are in relationships without ever really understanding what's going to be best for me, what's going to be best for them. How do we make this work for all of us? So, of course, that's what we're here to talk about today. In the end, having good relationships is what's going to be the key to getting the big things done. No one person, no one single hero is now, oh, I'm going to change the world. I'm Steve Jobs. I'm Mark Zuckerberg. In fact, they have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of employees behind that who actually make things get done. So, of course, we need to be working together in order to make the big things happen.
right. So let me put some line between relationship and leadership, right?
Yeah.
I think best leaders, whether they are family leaders or company leaders or some, leaders of the sport, clubs or teams, they have three things in common. They can use in each and every person what is best in that particular person, right? Put them in the individual flow so they perform at their best. Okay, that's number one. What is happening with those individuals, by the way? There's a lot of endorphin release. They feel good and they are not giving up because endorphin is killing pain basically. And if you are tired, you are not tired because you like what you do. Okay, then they are able to create synergy in the teams. There's a good chemistry, like my talents are covering Lisa weaknesses and the other way around if it would be in the same team.
I
So
have no weaknesses. So.
okay, you see, easy. So that's the second point. And the third point is they are able to inspire everybody around themselves. And you can inspire by the vision. Vision is the picture of the world which does not exist yet, but you believe in that picture as a leader. And if you have a communication skill, so the other people believe in what you believe, then there is a strong bond and there is a what I call, team flow or the company flow that really everybody likes what they do and so on. So that's leadership and what it has to do with relationship. Let's first talk about the time when we are born. There are two basic needs. We want to be authentic as a human beings. We want our genes, it's a nature, right? We want our genes to be freely expressed, to be who we really are. That's number one. On the other hand, because we are social beings, we want to have a social bounds, social connection and emotional connection with the other people. Okay, and there needs to be balance. I will explain what I mean. I coach, many players like handball, basketball, football. I mean, the soccer. It's not American football.
Thank
It's a
you.
European football in America. We are saying players. They need to balance their authenticity with the teamwork. Okay. For example, they feel like, okay, if I play well, it's good. But I have also, those are my colleagues, but they are competitors because maybe there are not one goalkeeper, but there are three goalkeepers. Okay. And they change them, whatever. But they need to balance that. If you balance it, it's great. How you can balance it? Through relationships. What is relationship? Relationship is based on trust. Okay. Trust is about two things: authenticity, that I do the things which I'm saying I'm doing. So that's authenticity. And predictability is the other one. You can be very tough with the people, but you need to be predictable. If you are changing the rules during the game, quote, quote, right, it's not good and people will stop to, trust you. I think trust, whether those are romantic relationships or, working relationship, trust is essential. If you don't trust, you can pretend that you trust or whatever, but it doesn't work.
No,
So
it doesn't.
that's kind of th- this is it. The best teams are based on those three things, and like common denominator, it's really great relationships, and it's all based on the trust. And they need to trust each other, but they need to trust to the leader. That leader would be authentic and would be practical. I don't think I was kind of the soft leader, not at all. I was a tough guy, but very predictable and very fair. And this is it. If you have a clear rules, what does it mean? What success looks like? We were talking always in Microsoft about common version of the truth. Okay,
Yeah.
numbers are writing the story. You can have all the blah blah blah. Economists not doing very well, whatever shall I say, right? But numbers are numbers. This is it, right? Numbers are numbers. Your numbers, your competence numbers, and so on. So that's kind of the intro from my side.
I love that. I think what's really important in setting up relationships, most people, obviously we all have relationships. You have parents from the moment you were born or caregivers, you had already relationships from the very beginning. But we don't always know how to set a relationship up correctly. And I think it's really important, to build that trust, for example, is in being able to say, here's who I am, here's what you can count on me for, and also to be able to make requests. And here's what I need from you. What I find so often to be the problem is exactly those two things. I don't know who I am, what I want, what I offer. I can't
Mhm.
articulate that to people. And I don't know how to tell you what I want from you. So, this is where a lot of relationships already start to break down. And I was joking around coaching someone recently today that I said, I'm always very clear in my requests or my expectations, if you're a leader, of letting people know exactly what it is that I expect up front.
Right.
And when I talk to my husband, from the very beginning, I'll come home, I'm complaining about something, and he'll ask me, because we've established this, he'll ask me, would you like me to help you solve this, or would you like me to help just with listening? Okay,
Mhm.
because I told him up front, I don't always need you to solve my problem. I probably want you to listen. So he already figured out, okay, then I'll ask her up front what she wants, and then we know. And when I want him to listen, we've already established, I've already sent him the request that he should say things like, wow, that sounds really hard. And he's memorized these 2, 3 lines that we've worked through. So it doesn't take much effort from his side. And I use this as an extreme example because sometimes people say, I don't know what to say. I don't know the right thing. It's so hard. And I said, make it easy. And even when I know what he's going to say, I know why he's going to say it because I asked him to, it still feels really good because I'm like, thank you. It was hard. I feel acknowledged. I feel seen. So I think really important for people early on is to figure out what is it that I even want to give, because I want to be giving in the relationship, and what is it that I want to receive, and how do I start articulating that and sharing that with people.
Hmm.
This is the very first foundation of creating a healthy relationship. How do you work things out with your wife? Dare I ask?
With my wife, I need to tell her you are right. Simply, this is it.
Darn, I messed up. I should have told my husband that.
You are right. This is it. I need to be careful, right? But you are right. No, it is like that, indeed. Because look, you can help, and if you can't help, you can at least listen. And the thing is, and I also, there are some people, for them it's hard. For me, if there's some tough things, obstacles and so on in my life, I try to share it with the other people, because sometimes they give you some hint what to do, but at least I'm like, okay, fine, I share it, and it's this is it, right? So my experience, to add to the relationships, right, like on the trust, I in my life, in my career, I've got a tendency, to give much more than what I was asked for. Okay. And I realized that in relationships, it's much better to under promise and over deliver. You know what I mean? Yeah. Right.
Yes.
To say, hey, I will do that, but then you do, much more. This is much, much better. It's nothing bad, because sometimes you are asked only for one particular thing. And you're like, no, 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 it's my boss, whatever, right? I need to deliver, much more. And it's not necessarily, because they are asking for one particular thing. So I think it is always good, because the other person would say, hey, that's great, he promised that, but he delivered much more, right? So that's one thing. Then the other thing is, if you are a leader, it is always to have a goal, and then you have a stretch goal. You tell your people, okay, the goal is a base, it's a base plan. Okay, if you do it, this is what you are paid for. If you do stretch goal 10% plus, this is the bonus. Okay. Then, we've got a great scheme that, best sales guys can earn 3 times of the, yearly salary,
Wow.
basically. So then it was capped, right? It was capped on the, 3 year salary. But it was a really good, good thing. Right. So this is it. But then in the relationship, there is another great thing, and that's kind of the what is the balance between motivation and inspiration. Okay.
Mhm.
Because if you will only be like visionary, you inspire people through the vision and so on, but your guys, they would need to pay bank loans and stuff like that. You cannot eat the vision, right? It's good to have a vision, like long term, what it is, but I'm always saying it's great to eat while you dream. You
I
know what
like
I
that.
mean, right?
Perfect.
You can eat. You need to cover. It's like Maslow. You need to cover first. Raphael, he's from the Harvard group. Yeah, you
Yes.
probably remember Raphael
Yes.
from the COVID time. Hi, Raphael. Yeah, right. So this is it. It is great to have a vision, but then motivation is basically money, the medals, the Olympic Games wins, whatever, right? The external stuff. So you need to have a balance, because if you are concentrated only on the results, that's not good. And that's why it's good to have those that balance. I think leadership is always about balance, like balancing the people. You can't have, it's all about diversity, whether it's like gender diversity or all other type of diversity, because you need, if you are a company, you need to mirror market, basically,
Yeah.
right? And if your market, like, I will not mention it. I was, having a big seminar for like 400 sales representatives, for the large cosmetic company. CEO was, I said, what is the target market? And he said, those are, girls or ladies between like 17, say, to 30 years old. Average age in the room was 45, It's
Yeah.
like it's like me, selling skateboards or whatever. Skateboard. I coach the best skateboard guy in Czech Republic, Martin Peck. I think I got it, right? Skateboard was not necessarily the good example, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Reflecting the market. This is it, right? So
Yeah, there's so much to unpack there. I wouldn't even know where to begin, but I'll take where you left off, which
mhm,
is you have to understand who you're talking to, who's the audience, who's the other person, whether it's an audience of one, you're in a one-to-one meeting, or you're in a larger group, or you're
exactly.
speaking to 400, or you're speaking to the world, right? You have to understand who they are. I really want to emphasize, I know this sounds so obvious, but this is the thing that people forget. Many times when people talk about their leadership and relationships, they come to us and they say, please help me to influence people so they do what I want. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, the relationship is not just about you and your needs. It's really also about the other person. What's going on for them? What are
Absolutely.
they thinking? And same with knowing your customer, knowing your audience, right?
Yeah.
You have to understand it can't just be my way is the right way. Yeah. We've often heard of like the golden rule, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. And this is nice. It's in a lot of religions. We probably grew up with that, but it's wrong because actually not everybody is the same. So it's not treat me, I'll treat you the way I want to be treated. It's I'm
Yeah.
going to treat you the way you want to be treated. And in
Absolutely.
order for me to do that, in order for me to really be there for you or to influence you or to sell you something, I have to really understand what it's about for you. So in
Mm.
relationship, it's not just about me, right? Just it's also about who are you? What are your needs? What role can I play? What's important about what you need with me? And thinking about us not as me as an individual and you're the target or that I need to impress these people and protect myself.
Right.
We're really looking at how do we come together, build something greater, understand something
Mm.
more important. This has never been more important than in history. Like literally in history, this has never been more important than right now, simply because we're at the point when we're helping AI to build its foundations. And once we have built AI, just for everyone to know, we don't know where it's going to go. So literally, what we're building right now has to be across countries. It has to be across religions. It has to be across, industries. There's no one thing we say, you guys do AI and the rest of us aren't impacted. It is global. And if we don't learn how to speak to each other and how to figure out how to be in relationship and protect each other, very, very, very bad things could happen for humanity.
No, I agree.
I'll leave it there.
By the way, I use AI, particularly ChatGPT 4.0, very heavily. Today, for example, my tennis player, they play, Masters tournament, like 8 best players. The same is happening in the junior category. So Jan Kumstad, that's my player. He's in China, and he'll start to play tomorrow, the Masters, junior Masters.
Right.
And I prepare strategy for him for each and every player in the group based on the AI. And I was amazed, how much information was there. Like, it's more, mentally than physically what he should play. But even like physically, how we should serve and stuff like that. It's amazing. You mentioned one important thing, like understanding the other guy. So there's one important requirement in modern leadership, and that's emotional intelligence. And unfortunately, you are not taught in the school who you are and who are the others. You are taught what is around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily what is in you, what is in the other people. Because emotional intelligence, if you are a leader, in order to understand, and be empathical with the other people, you need to understand yourself. So you need to have a high level of self-awareness. You need to understand who you are. You need to understand who you are not. So
Yeah.
that's number one, right? Number two, you need to be empathical. You need to, listen and feel what the other feel, because then it is hard. You can, it is hard. And I'm not like, I'm empathical if I know the person for some more time. It's called relationship in Gallup Strengths Finder. Okay, that's what I'm. Empathy, it's like broad empathy. I don't have a broad empathy, but if I know somebody for, say, 1 week or 2 weeks, I'm empathic with that person. But I need to know, more about the person, right? And empathy is really about sensing the other person emotion, needs, concern. What Lisa said, right? Basically, because every person is original, and we have different, motivation. We are inspired through different, things and so on. Okay, so empathy is the second, and then how you measure, how you manage your relationship, the social aspect of of the human society, right? Because for us, this is very important. That's why humankind is so much ahead, because we are social beings, right? Because we cooperate, basically. Our brains are wired to help other people. That's why the people who are the happiest are those who can make happy other people through some activity they love, right? This is it, right? So, like, what I love, that's where your authenticity and emotional connection to the other people is put together. That's the kind of the balance, right? It is human happiness, because if you find the purpose in your life and you are making other people happy through your purpose, you can do it for a very long time. It's about, we talk about longevity and so on,
Yes.
and also about great relationship with the others. It doesn't matter whether you are, composer of some, music, or whether you are sport coach or whatever, CEO, right? So emotions are key, but are not taught today in the school, because we
Mhm.
our own knowledge, in average, our self-awareness and awareness of the other people is not that very different from the people from 15th century.
I believe that.
We understand, like, artificial intelligence and big data and everything, but we don't understand, each other very often. And emotions, because artificial intelligence will do a lot of things. With emotions, it's not that, easy, right? Because it has to do with, emotions, talents, and so it has to do with the genes and stuff like that. So it's not an easy. So in fact, emotional intelligence in leadership will be very well paid article in the future. I'm sure for it.
Yeah, the very human part, you're so right. Like in the future, we can outsource a lot of stuff to AI, but what's going to exist is still the human stuff. The person who can excite people, the person who can make the vision and help people come along, the person who can, like when there's conflict, who can resolve the conflict. The very human elements are going to become the most important for leaders, because from the calculation side, AI is going to become stronger. So, how do we create these relationships where people trust, where people want to follow? And I think, something that's very important that we haven't talked about yet is you're going to mess things up.
Mhm.
All of us, it doesn't matter if we're experts in communication, we're still humans. We do still have emotions. We are tired some days, and we just are going to mess things up. So really important about staying in relationship is not, I have to be perfect. I have to say the perfect thing all the time. I have to really watch my words and not speak up just in case it might hurt someone else, but rather be comfortable. Okay, am I going to do my best? Am I going to share a message that's my best? And then if things go wrong, how do I start to repair that
Mhm.
relationship? And for anybody who's very interested in this topic, you can actually take a quiz online of the 5 apology languages. It's by the same people who wrote the 5 love languages, but they wrote the 5 apology languages. So some of the ways that you can apologize is by using the words "I'm sorry." But some of the ways you can apologize is by saying, I've really learned my lesson, and here's what I'm going to do better going forward.
Mhm.
Right? Or I'm so sorry. I want to acknowledge that this really was an inconvenience for you, or it hurt your feelings the way I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
and just show that you understood the other person. This is almost more important than getting it right the first time, because we're going to make mistakes. So if we know how to repair, and this is good for when you say, if you say something in a meeting and you go, well, probably shouldn't have said that out loud, or I shouldn't have yelled at that person like that. Don't just keep it for yourself. Actually go and close that gap for them, close that rift for them.
Mm.
That can create stronger bonds and relationships than if everything was sort of polite and even and on the surface level. The more you can come together to be human, to admit you made mistakes, to show that we're still in this together. I care enough to tell you I'm sorry or I was wrong. That is going to be where people can say, I can trust this person. Their intentions are not to hurt me. Their intentions are not that they don't care about me.
Mm.
They care enough to make things right. And people do not practice this art enough. Many people, and especially, I have to say, especially culturally, men are like, yeah, well, she was wrong and I won't admit that I'm sorry, and also like, oh, I don't want to look weak by apologizing, and all sorts of stereotypes. It's not biological, but all sorts of stereotypes that say I can't.
But
Tell
the
me.
men usually by their mothers are basically brought up like, you are strong boy, you should not do that, whatever, So
Exactly.
I
It's
think
cultural. It's cultural.
the root cause are women, sometimes. But you know what I mean,
It's
right?
cultural. Yes, we're told
Once
men be
you are
strong.
like adult, you feel like it's wrong to admit my own mistake. It's wrong. I'm not wimpy, I'm not like weak guy. I should not do it. Even though I think like internally, hey, I fuck it up, probably.
But this is why what we do, Jan, when we have our, let's share all of our mistakes and all of our fuck ups in business and stuff, is to normalize. We are taught to be strong. Actually, high achievers in general, so women as well, are taught be strong, be powerful, show up, don't apologize, take what you need, whatever it is. And so we don't learn how to repair a relationship. But actually, you can see it takes way more courage and way more strength to be able to say, hey, I want to repair this, something's wrong. If you don't want to say the words, I'm sorry, or I was wrong, fine. But go back and say, hey, what happened in that meeting? It maybe wasn't okay, or it wasn't the way I wanted to show up. Or, in the next meeting, I really want to make sure that that never happens again. So you don't even have to admit you're wrong or admit fault, but come in and repair that relationship. Don't just think, oh, they'll know. Oh, we've been friends for 10 years. They get it. Because that no longer becomes okay for the nervous system. The nervous system has too much information to process. It's too tired all the time. So it just says threat. Okay. Oh, this person yells at me. This person, like, no more. Right? It doesn't have time for thinking, but Jan's such a good guy. He probably didn't mean it. We don't have time for that. Our brains don't have time for it anymore. So please, everybody, go back and learn how to bridge that gap when things are disconnecting, to just come back to a reconnection space. This is probably the most overlooked, easy, simple way to build relationships that people go, now I'll trust you. Now I'll fight for you because you see me. You're in this with me.
Then there is another, kind of cherry on the cake, because if you admit your own mistake, and you are, for example, boss, okay, and you made some mistake with your employees, whatever, and you go and publicly apologize and said, hey, this is what happened, this is the reason why it happened, this is how I will do it differently in the future. So you admit your mistake, openly and publicly. The other people in the group would say, okay, this is the group where we are not punished for the mistakes, so we should be open, and we'll start to talk about their own mistakes. And this is the way how you build learning organization. You are not, because people think learning organization is like, we learn from the success. But there are, successes, there are some obstacles, there are some failures. You need to learn from each and every event which is happening in your, life. You need to learn, move on, and be better and better. So if you think, even if you look at the stories like fairy tales, okay, it was always like from zero to hero through some transformation, like overcoming some obstacles on the way. Those are the best, stories, right? Like Cinderella, for example, right? Okay. But indeed, it is about, making some decisions and make sure that, you are able to overcome those obstacles. And sometimes, you're making mistakes, and that's fine. You learn and you move on. The problem is that, some organizations are not very open for the mistakes, and if you do mistakes, you are fired, and that's why you are not, making any risky, decisions or whatever, and the organization is not, moving fast enough, right? Because you want people who are able to make, reasonable risk and,
Yes.
decisions based on that, and who are able to overcome, tough situation obstacles. If things are going very well, everybody is part of the success. Success got a lot of, fathers, right? But if it's like failure, it's not necessary. And it takes a courage. And again, if you have a good relationship in the group, whatever is the group, you should encourage open communication. And mistakes should be, in fact, celebrated, because those people are heroes because they tried something new. I
Yes.
tell you what, my own experience with, like, if I try somebody who would be my coach, okay, I'm not expecting to tell me this was good, this is when you fucked it up. I know. I mean, I'm old enough. What I expect to show me different ways. You know what I mean, right? Like different,
Yeah.
because I'm a very curious guy, to show me, hey, there are maybe, different ways. It's maybe something between mentoring and coaching altogether, but this is it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that if you are like, new manager, that feedback, like this is good, this is bad, is, good. But if you are, experienced enough, you know what is good and what is bad, right? But it's about options, trying new things, basically, because
That's really it.
that's how your brain is developed. Because you are developing your brain both by successes and by failures, and you are creating new synapses. uh, to create it's taking some time. Synapse is getting, longer every day, only by 1 millimeter. So it is a long process.
Takes a
People
long time.
think there are, like, in Germany, you live in Switzerland, you speak German. They have a Übung macht Meister. In English, is repetition is the mastery. Okay, which means, like, once we are repeating some task, that's how we create new synapses, new neuroplasticity. But I'm saying that it's a long process, because it's
Yes.
really only step by step, but it makes sense to do it. Absolutely.
Yes. I just want to pause here for a moment. For anyone who's here live and has a real situation, we always enjoy when you type it into one of the chat boxes and we can sort of coach live to a
Questions,
real
comments,
situation.
whatever. It's very much appreciated, guys. If
Yeah, we
you,
love that. Gives us new material. But
yeah,
I also want to show everyone this is actually the symbol of my life purpose.
okay.
And the symbol of my life purpose is, so it's two people hugging for those of you who are listening but not looking. It's a wooden sculpture of two people hugging. And you don't know, are they happy? Are they sad? Is it, it doesn't really matter. The point is, no matter what, when it's good, when it's bad, when it's hard, when it's fun,
It's
when it's,
unconditional. It's called unconditional love. Whatever is happening, we love each other.
that's it. And the reason that this is my life's purpose is because once we have that safety net of unconditional love, only from there can we take risks and
Absolutely.
really feel good about the risks we're taking. So when I talk to leaders, and Jan and I coach ultra high achievers. So we're
Yeah.
talking, who are the people that made it to the top in sports and business and entrepreneurial, whatever it is. How did they get to the top? And we study them. We say, how did you get there? Right. And always it's about taking those calculated risks. And I can tell you, I see two types of entrepreneurs or successful achievers. One is the people who cared nothing about relationships, just went for goals, achieved nothing, has two divorces, doesn't talk to the kids. And then there's the people who said, I need to have relationships. In the relationship is where I get my energy, where I have my safety, where I have that ability to spring from that positive energy to affect the world. And they are much more fulfilled, much more sustainable success for long-term success. Both get results, don't get me wrong, but one of them destroys the person
Yeah.
and one of them makes the person
Yeah.
stronger and more fulfilled.
There
And
is, I read the biography of Kobe Bryant, and he mentioned the fact that when he was 12 years old, his father hugged him and said, I will love you whether you do 0 points or 60 points, I will still love you, whatever. And in his last game, he scored 60 points. Kobe Bryant.
That's so sweet.
So this is unconditional love. This is what you need to do with your kids, and this is what you need to do with your employee. I mean, provided they behave in the proper way. Obviously, if, they did something which is semi-legal or even illegal. That's not possible, obviously. But this is it. Yeah, I agree. I think this is it. I don't like, because if your language, whether it's with kids or employees, it's like, hey, you are the masters, you are the best one, and if you will do that, then I will, if you will have a great, results in the school, we will buy you new car, whatever, right? Those kids, they have a tendency to go after kind of the low hanging fruit. They don't want to risk, because they don't want to disappoint you, because they think, okay, my parents or my boss think I'm superstar, so I need to still deliver great results to be superstar. On the other hand, if your parents or your boss would appreciate you for the performance, say, that was a great project, by the way, this was great contribution from you, those are people or the kids who can take, who are usually taking some tasks which are out of their comfort zone. There's a study from Stanford, I think Andrew Huberman is mentioning that study in his podcast all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we need to take more risks. As we said, AI will take away many of the jobs that don't require risk taking and figuring out
Right.
ambiguity. And again, what we know, you talked a moment ago about longevity as well. What we know is having relationships, physical relationships, not just online relationships where you chat with your
Mhm.
friends or you're on, Insta, but physical relationships have a biological change
Right.
for the body, and we
Yeah.
can rise up to do our best. We heal when we are with other people. So not only did I say, hey, you should try to make sure that you close any bridges that you have,
Right.
but also when you're feeling upset, and you said it earlier, like you just want to talk to your friends. Why do we have that want to just share it with them so
Yeah.
that we don't carry the burden all by ourselves? It's on us. Oh, I suck. It spins in your head. You carry it. You're all alone with your thoughts. And when actually you can connect with others, and I'm not saying
Mhm.
everybody just share all your dirty laundry with everyone you've ever met, right? Find the people you trust who
Yeah.
will care about you, who will listen to you, who will be there for you. But please don't feel I have to be strong. I have to be the strong one in the group because I'm the leader, or I have the then don't talk to your team, but talk to someone else. Call a coach, call,
Mhm.
whatever, call your tennis partner for all I care. Find someone so that you're not lonely. You're not lonely at the top, but you are in relationship and healing there. There's something magical about being able to speak through your experience and have people, even if they just say, yeah, man, I feel that way too, or oh, that sounds so hard, oh, that sucks. That's enough, right? People want to be connected to each other. Now, you might be thinking when you hear that, like, oh, that's fine, but Lisa, I'm an introvert, or like, oh, I don't really like to be around people that much, or, but that's not true. Biologically, you like to be around people. Now, maybe you find it scary to be around people because you're very afraid of judgment, right? That's a vulnerability question. We know from the research, it's not really contested. We know from the research that we need to have meaningful, healthy relationships in our lives in order to feel good and have like a
Yeah.
long, happy, meaningful life.
No, absolutely. So let's cover one thing which is also part of the relationship, because if you are for some time with some other people, the chances are that there will be some conflicts among the group,
Mhm.
between the people, and so on. So let's talk a little bit about conflicts, right? Today, unfortunately, and I think it started, and I will be very honest, even though Lisa is here, it started in the United States during the presidential campaign between Bush Jr. and Al Gore. The society is pretty much polarized today, kind of the
Mhm.
50-50. It's the same. It's the same in my country. It's the same in Germany, France, whatever. Right? I mean, you see it now during the elections in the United States. It's
Yes.
polarized. And in the past, that bipartisanship was like, okay, we have some differences, but let's talk what we have in common. We want, America to be great again, whatever, right? Today, they almost don't talk to each other. If you look into the campaigns are about my, opponent, what is wrong with my opponent. It's not what is right in my program. I don't know, like I was, reading the programs of the both presidential candidates in the US. I've seen it. I would be, fair. There are some aspects of those programs. But if you take like all of those commercials, 80% are negative going after the other guy. Okay.
Yep.
So this is it. And once we've got, social networks, it's getting even worse and worse. It's not only among politicians, it's general. If you have a different opinion, you are my enemy. That's the mindset, basically. So, and what social networks are doing, they are creating like small nations inside of the nation. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You are you are for vaccination, you are anti-vaxxer, right? Stuff like that, right? Somebody asked me, some journalists asked me during the COVID, and I said, why should we there or there? I will ask this professor. He's one of the best in the world. And he recommended, that's what I did. And he said, like, you are 60 years old, you should definitely be vaccinated. That's what I
Yeah.
did, right?
Yeah.
That was it. So now we have this situation where really, like, if you disagree with me, you are my enemy, which is wrong, obviously, absolutely. Because, progress is very often happening through argument. Argue means like, I disagree, but we are moving ahead. Today, unfortunately, people disagree and they are stuck.
Yes.
See? They are stuck. There are still some societies, like in Northern Europe, Sweden, Finland, they are much more consensus driven. For example, in Finland, you have campaigning only 3 weeks and governing is the rest, like 4 years, right? And they call it strategic governance. For example, they have in the parliament, they have a future committee, and that committee is run by the opposition leader. And that committee, they are representatives of all parties, and they think it's like think tank. They think what Finland should do 10 years from now. Okay, so it's very easy to do like new project like reformation of the school system. Okay, because it's like 10 years, right? But this is very rare in US or in my country. Campaigning and governing are almost the same thing. It's happening. You start to govern, and you start campaign for the new, term.
Yes.
Today, you don't see it. You don't see the so. This is it. So, what are the learnings? How we can, return back, right? I know in Microsoft it was very much argument-driven culture, but you didn't perceive the other guy as an enemy. Basically, I was like, okay, we are moving with this project, and whoever is, right, fine, let's do it. Let's do the best thing for the company. Okay. And if you have some conflict, you need to find what is the lowest, I call it common denominator. What is the lowest thing? Maybe that, me and you, we were, living or we were studying the same university, whatever. If we are in the argument, what do you need to do? Usually, if we are really in the big argument, there is one amygdala talking to the other. And imagine one monkey talking to the other, it doesn't gonna to work. You need to have one neocortex, one professor to talk to the other. And the way how to do it, you need to cool down your monkeys, right? And the way to cool them down, it's really to find what is in common, how we can relate. As I said at the beginning, we want to be authentic and we want to have this, connection with the other people. As Eliza rightly said, we are social beings. We wanted to help other people, right? So this is it. And that's how you start to build from very, low level, and you start to build more and more consensus, right? So we need really, I think it needs to be done in the schools to say, okay, if we disagree, it doesn't mean that we are not friends, right? You imagine in the company, there are two people in the room and they still agree with each other, right? That means that at least one person is redundant, maybe both of them, right? Because there's no problem.
Exactly.
They still agree. That's kind of in my view, and I would be very much interested in how if you teach what you are telling people how to solve conflicts.
You've nailed it, right? I mean, the first thing that people need to consider is that conflict doesn't mean that always a negative. There's healthy conflict, as Jan just stated, of okay, we want to get to the best result. What's most important is when a conflict is not I'm fighting against you, but
Right.
rather you and I together are fighting against a problem, right? So here's the
By
problem.
the way, sorry, Lisa,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
interrupt.
please.
Competition, compare, means in Latin, we are seeking together. You
Yeah.
see? You see? That's exactly what you said. Sorry.
Exactly that. No, dude, that's perfect because it's not me against you. It's me and you going against the problem.
Mhm.
So our numbers are low. I don't need to blame you. Blame you. It was your fault. You did something. What we actually want to talk about is, hey, we're on this team where we want to get our numbers to go up. How are we going to do that together? So it's not me versus you. It's me and you against the problem. And I think this is really important for getting us to move forward because when we're in conflict, we have to remember that we are in this together and we need to feel a sense of belonging instead of fighting against this in group, out group. By nature, we're not going to love everybody in the same way. So, for example, you probably don't love me as much as you all love your family. I can accept that, even if I'm quite lovable, right? Of course, they're closer to you. They know, they're your family. Of course, they're your in group, right? And so we can't, in the utopian world, we could love everybody equally and the same. But the reality of the brain is that there's always this in group and then an out group. Now, what we want to try to do is expand. We want to fight against that a little bit and say, who can be in my in group? Can every person at Microsoft be in the in group? Because it's us, and we're not fighting against Apple. We're fighting against, or we're fighting for, like everybody has this personal
Exactly.
computer, right? So we're fighting for this mission. So we're all in this together. Now, how do we do that best? We should be in conflict because we care so much about what we're fighting for, but we're aligned in it. We're not against, we're aligned in it to get somewhere. I see
Because
we have,
if you, yeah, Richard is great, thought leader, is a great friend of mine. He's from the group, from the Harvard Coaching Institute. We have
oh,
always
great. All our buddies are here.
he's saying that a great leader who said, Mike, I had a great leader who said A-level people surround themselves with A-level people, B-level people surround themselves with the C-level people. I work deliberatively to have him look like a hero. This is a
Mhm.
great conversation. Thank you, Richard. It's absolutely true because A people are not afraid to the other A people because they know that they will grow together. B people, they are afraid of the A people, but they are also afraid of the B people. That's how they are hiring C people, and that's how the whole organization is like dropping down because that's the situation. And what I want to say, if you take like last 30 years, how much progress economy did, like IT. Richard mentioned IT, and how much progress leadership in politics did. I think we were going down in politics. It's not necessarily moving us up because there are so many issues we need to do and solve, and we are not doing it, and it's still like fighting each other. There is a lot of tension because all of those algorithms on the social networks are working. More tension you have there, more people are fighting. You getting more followership because your part is more promoted. I promote peace and love and positivity. I've got a lot of followership, but I think it's quite good content, including what we do with Lisa, obviously, right? And I will not play that game to put people against each other because it's not me. I think people should love each other, right? And we can. If I have a different, color of my skin, even though I look like a bit Lisa. I was on Cyprus last week. I have a really different
Yeah,
color,
you're very tan.
or whatever, sexual orientation or whatever. Doesn't matter for me. I think we
Yes.
are all human beings. We are all, human souls, and we can work together. And And I think diversity means huge opportunity. Diversity should not be taken as it's not good. It is, good. Right. So let's touch in the last part, communication, because I think this is
Oh,
very important.
that's a
And
whole nother hour. What are you talking about?
again, for example, people are afraid mostly that by the fact that they will die at some point. And the
Yeah.
second piece, it's like public speaking.
Yeah.
That's the second fear we have as a human beings. Why is that? Because of the FOPO, obviously. What the other people will say, fear of other people opinion, right? So how to, and there are a lot of people, and it has nothing to do with the fact whether you are whether you are extrovert or introvert. If introverts are speaking about something which is very close to their hearts, they are not tired from the speaking and they love what they do. They love the speaking. So you need to speak about things you like, because then endorphin is released, and endorphin is killing, all the fact that you are tired, whatever, right? So
Yeah.
I think it is, and it's a skill. So public speaking. And unfortunately, while in US, now I will be a little bit, more positive towards the US. You
Thank you.
you teach kids in almost in the kindergarten how to present the projects and so on. I was coaching this 14 years old girl. She's originally from Slovakia. Her father was a very famous tennis player. Dominik Herbati was like number 12, and I'm coaching her on golf. And she wrote some nice essay on self-awareness, right? But the way she was able to present it to me on the phone was also amazing. She said, I learned in American school, that's the way. And I know my daughter, she was in British school. That's also good. The majority of the European countries, we don't teach rhetorics at all, and that's bad, because today you need to be smart, but you need to be able to show other people that you are smart, right? So I was very much interested how you coach people so they are not afraid to present publicly and so on, because this is also, if you want to have a good career in corporations, you need to have a good skill to present.
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges that people have to overcome in Europe is that they've been told, be humble, don't
Yeah,
stand
that's
out.
true. That's
And
true.
so Americans, it's like, hey, the more you stand out, cool, amazing, whoa, you're
Right.
the best. So you get positive reinforcement for telling funny stories, keeping
Right.
people entertained, right? And then you come to Europe and it's like, oh my gosh, the moment you try to stand out, people go, what are you doing? Don't show off, don't stand out, don't be so snobby, right? I see that all the time. And so it's ingrained that if I'm speaking up about myself, if I'm
Mm.
speaking out, if I'm sharing something, I feel as though I'm doing something wrong.
Okay.
And that's the very first thing that has to switch is there's actually nothing wrong with it. But this is where people get hung up. If I'm speaking up
Mhm.
and I'm worried about other people's opinions, that's all about me, and me. If you're speaking up, you should be speaking up on something that's very important. So whenever I go to speak, it's not about me. I'm like, okay, who's in the audience? What is going to be helpful to them? Because I have a general policy of generosity. I always want to be giving to others. That's why we do these programs for free for people. Anybody can learn from this. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Doesn't matter how much money you have. Anything, you get this, because we want to be able to give information. So whenever I go and speak, I don't say, are they going to like me? Am I showing off? What are they going to think? I just say, what opportunity can I open up for them? Remember that I'm here to support other people and unlock what's possible for
Right.
them. So when I get over myself, I can't imagine that I would not want to speak up on behalf of you. We have in the audience here, Joseph said hi, Richard said hi, Rafael said hi, Michael said
Mm.
hi, Freshbeck said hi. Like, why wouldn't we want to support
Right.
them? Why wouldn't we want to speak?
Absolutely.
Get over the self. And that's why I say so much transformation is not about looking at me and myself. So much transformation happens in relationship. I care enough about you all to want to be able to
Mm.
share. And in relationship, we can be generous. We can realize our true purpose. You should always have a purpose that's greater than just me,
Right.
my career, my job title. How do I give to something greater? Because I'm connected to something greater. Once you start to recognize that, everything about how you show up is in relationship to serving the greater good.
Yeah. I was thinking, how comes that in the US, and partially also in UK, it's different from the rest. And I think one reason is that majority of the European countries, we used to have aristocracy, and we were like under the pressure from aristocracy. So it's
Could be.
normal. I should not, speak out that much because, I'm not. That's number one.
Yeah.
Then number two, talking about the real data, Max Weber wrote in 1905 book when he wrote that Protestant countries are economically doing better than Catholic countries, and it's almost true today again. Right?
Hmm.
It has to do with the mentality. It has
Yeah.
to do with the mentality, with the behavior, whatever, right? Because if you took, if you are in Switzerland, so World Economic Forum, they do every year competitive, right?
Yep.
Competitive report. And if you look at top 10, majority of those are really, Protestant countries. I don't want to create any, tension. I'm that he was quite smart saying that, and maybe it's a cultural thing also, but we need to overcome it, right? Because like if you think about it, if you go to the church, whatever is the church, whether it's Catholic or Protestant, priests are pretty good in speaking. They speak really. It's like presentation skills training. Right?
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But
So
this is, we have to use our humanness to connect with other people. And some people say, I'm going to stand up to a crowd and I'm going to be able to speak. I want everybody who's listening here today, if you say, yeah, but I'm not American, I'm not an extrovert, I don't like speaking in public, these are all learnable skills.
exactly.
So this is not, you're not born a leader or not, you're not born an excellent storyteller or not. This is all learnable skills. And some people just feel more comfortable learning them. And other people say, oh, that's not me, and I'm going to stay shy. Now, the only problem with that is you'll never fulfill your full potential, and other people don't benefit because you have some knowledge somewhere in there that's really important that nobody else has. Every unique person has a viewpoint that literally nobody else in the world in history could ever have. So if you're not sharing it, if you're not expressing it, if you're not in service to others, then we all suffer. And that's very rude of you. So I want everybody, that's why this is my purpose. I want everybody to find their voice. And finding your voice is in relationship to other people, in helping others, in being connected with others, in healing with others, in building a community around yourself that's a safety net and a caring space for you to go out and do
Yeah.
something bigger.
And you will not learn communication. I mean, you can read about communication fine and watch the other people. That's good. But you learn communication by communication, whether it's on
Yes.
101 or one to few, or you present. And more you present about things you really understand, it's easier. If you have a general job like my job, president for Europe, sometimes I was talking about the thing. I mean, I always got on the top level some knowing. I would say like 90% of my speeches I could speak without a paper, without a slide. I was like that. But 10%, I was, for example, addressing, some what should be the refugee policy, for the companies and for the countries in Europe. I would need to study it a little bit, more, right? So, hello,
Yeah.
yeah, Luisa. Greetings from Denver, Colorado. Yeah,
I love that we have a worldwide audience.
because we've got this group yesterday. It's a great group, we have. So again, communication is a skill, and you can, learn it. And if even if you go for like communication skills training, that will help you because they record you, and you will see yourself, and you will see what you do well, where you can, improve, and you move from that, right? So and
Yeah.
again, communication is key because you need to be good, but you need also to show other people that they are good. I know many scientists who are really top, like on the world level. They are not able to communicate well. They are not able to explain how they think, what they think, and so on. And that's a pity.
It is a pity. The last thing I want to just say here is don't be afraid to connect with other people. Most of us are very scared to be vulnerable. We feel there are trolls on the internet who are going to say something, or our friends are going to judge our outfits, or they're not going to like this or that. That FOPO, that fear of other people's opinions,
Yeah.
are probably the thing that's stopping you from having the relationships that you want to have. And I'm talking professional, personal, with your partner, whatever. So take just a moment today to be a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more open, share a little bit more about yourself maybe than you usually would, and see what opens up for you. You might find when you open up just a little bit more, someone else says, oh, okay, now I'll share something that I can open up with, right? And in relationship, you can solve everything about your life and about all our problems in the world, but we have to do it together.
And don't be afraid to connect. I tell you what, my daughter, her like first, like, kind of the language she was born with, it's English. Czech is good, but she spoke much more in her life English. She will get now even British passport, so she lives in London. But now her German is very good, but she wants to be at the same level like a Czech. Okay, so she figured out that there is a group of the people. She's partnering with some gentleman. He's 80 years old. My daughter is 27. So they go online because he wants to learn. His son is now married in the United States, and he wants to learn English, better, English. So they have like 1 week they speak in English, 1 week they speak in German. Now they've got like 2 days ago, they spoke about inflation. And they can always pick the topic, right? The other example I would like to give you, we know each other with Lisa probably 4 or 5 years. We never met physically. We never met. Yeah, it will happen at some point.
Somehow we do always miss each other.
And anyway, so this is it. I never met with Richard. That's my other guys, right, from the group. Okay, guys, thank you very much. And we are very much looking forward to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Take care, everyone. Have a great
Bye
night.
bye. Bye.